Okay, so today's lesson is gonna be short, God willing. I'm not gonna be talking for an hour like last time. This is not as dense as the other material we have covered because today we're gonna go over a book. It's called Start with Why by Simon Sinek. Some of you have read it, some of you have not. This is the book. If you need a copy, you can come to my office. If you're virtual, you can probably find a copy online. It's an easy read. And of course, I'm just covering like the general concepts of the book. I'm not going into detail. So if you want to go into detail, I suggest that you read the book. So let's go ahead. Okay. So the book is called Start with Why, How Great Leaders Inspire Everyone to Take Action. We're going to be talking about the golden circle, the role of leaders, and applying the concepts. This is the book. Again, I recommend you guys reading it. It's a quick read. It's very interesting. He also has some TED Talks on YouTube. You can also look for that. But my recommendation again is to actually read the book. All right. So the challenge of leadership. There are leaders and there are those who lead. Leaders hold a position of power or influence. Those who lead inspire us. Start with Why is about a naturally occurring pattern, a way of thinking, acting, and communicating that gives some leaders the ability to inspire those around them. The more organizations and people who learn to also start with why, the more people there will be who wake up feeling fulfilled by the work they do. And basically, the why is the purpose. So the why of the organization is the purpose of the organization, but you should also know what your purpose is. There are three simple questions that can lead you to the answer, which is what you love, what you hate, and who you want to serve. The answer of those three things can help you find out what your purpose is. The whole point is to align your purpose with the organization purpose, right? The why of the organization. And we have talked about alignment in the past and how, in order to engage people, their values and their beliefs should be aligned with the values and the belief of the organization. This is just another layer of that. It's kind of the same thing where your purpose should somehow align with the organization purpose for you to feel truly fulfilled. I mean, if you are just here because this is a stepping stone in what you want to do, maybe you want to you want to go to law school. So this is it's kind of cool to get some experience. Okay, good for you. If this is just a job because you need to, you need a paycheck, that's cool. But if you're looking at this job as a career, you should hopefully your purpose aligns with the purpose of the organization. And hopefully you know what the purpose of the organization is or the why. And if you don't know, we're going to be talking about that. All right. A world that doesn't start with why. The chances are you're selling a product that someone else is selling with similar features at a similar price. So, how do we attract customers? Think about it. This is a personal injury law firm. In Miami, there are hundreds of personal injury law firms. In New York, there are hundreds of personal injury law firms. Why us? When a customer decides to hire us to retain our service, why are they doing that? Because we're the best. A bunch of attorneys out there, saying their commercials that they're the best because we get great results. There's a lot of attorneys out there that get good results. If you drive in the highway, you're going to see all the advertisement. Steiner advertises with the big checks, or, my attorney got me X amount of money. I'm sure you all seen it. Morgan and Morgan says that they're the bigger, and the size matters. So it's not because we're the best or the biggest why people come to us. Think about that. The why. We don't have the best advertisement. We don't have the best commercials. I mean, they're pretty good, but let's be honest, we're not, we don't have the best commercial. We're not Hollywood, right? I'm sure other attorneys have, more interesting commercials. So why? Why are people coming to us? Well, we're gonna be getting to that at the end of the of the lesson. But I want you to think about it. I want you to actually think about as we go on, why are people coming to us? So leadership versus manipulation. So there are two ways to influence behavior. You either inspire or you manipulate. We manipulate the whole time, sales, promotions, etc. And it works. Manipulation works. Prices, promotions, fear, aspirations, novelty, peer pressure are all used to manipulate and motivate a purchase. All of these techniques work, and none of them is sustainable. They are short term wins and don't encourage loyalty. In terms of leadership, they can help you reach the top, but they will make people follow you. And this concept, you can use it, you can apply it to a customer, but you can also apply it to your employees. It goes both ways. So you can manipulate a customer to retain your service, but you can also manipulate your employees to perform, right? So you can either inspire them or manipulate them, both customers and employees. So again, it works both ways. But think about it. Black Friday, right? We're supposed to get great deals in Black Fridays. Some stores, they tell you that they are giving you a 70% off because it's Black Friday, and then you purchase that item, and then 5 months later you go to the store and you see the same item on sale for the same price, and you feel like you were taken advantage of, right? Like you were lied to because they manipulated you. They manipulated you into thinking that you were getting a special price because it was Black Friday. So, you know, that kind of manipulation, it's not going to inspire any trust. You're not going to trust that store or that company, right? But if there's a company that you know that you always buy, that when they give you a discount, it's a true discount, with time, you don't even have to research. That's the store you go to. You become loyal because you know that they're gonna give you the best price. You like what they stand for, and so there's no trickery, there's no manipulation. It is what it is. Again, this is the same with our employees. You can manipulate somebody into performing, but that it's only going to give you a short-term result. This is not sustainable. If you want that employee to give you consistent performance, you're going to have to build some trust. And some manipulation doesn't work when building trust, when, it's not going to give you the loyalty that you want. So all manipulation have the following features in common. They are transaction oriented and cost money. They're effective and they deliver only in short term. So sustainable leadership. Leadership is the ability to rally people, not for a single event, but for years. In business, leadership means that customer will continue to support your company when you slip up. There is a big difference between repeat business and loyalty. Repeat business is when people do business with you multiple times. Loyalty is when people are willing to turn down a better product or a better price to continue doing business with you. Loyal customers often don't even bother to research the competition or entertain other options. Loyalty is not easily won. Repeat business, however, is. All it takes is more manipulation. The thing is that all this manipulation has a cost and isn't sustainable. Again, you want to make sure that you get loyalty out of your clients and customers, not just repeat business. If you get somebody a great settlement, you know, they might not trust you, they might not be loyal, but you got them a good settlement, so they will come back, right? But this is not a person that's going to be raving about our service and, recommending all their family and friends to come here. They're probably going to do repeat business with us because we got them a lot of money, but not because they trust us. You want the people that even when we got them a low settlement, they still come back and they still tell everybody about how amazing we are, and they refer all their family members. You want that person that didn't have any BI, but they trust that we did everything we could and it was not in our hands, but they will come back because they trust us, and they would still refer people because they trust us, because they're loyal. You see, there's a big difference between those two kind of customers, and we want to create a customer base um, that is loyal. We want loyal customers. We don't want repeat business. Again, same with your employees. You want to create that loyalty with your employees. You don't want them just to show up because they want to collect a paycheck. Ideally, your employees align with your beliefs and your values, and they want to be here and they stand for what you stand for, and they share your vision, and they are inspired, motivated, and that's why they're performing and they're giving their best. That is ideally how it should be. So, an alternative perspective. There are a few leaders who choose to inspire rather than to manipulate in order to motivate people. Whether individuals or organizations, every single one of these inspiring leaders think, act, and communicate exactly the same way. And it is the complete opposite of the rest of us. Consciously or not, how they do it is by following a naturally occurring pattern that Simon Sinek calls the golden circle. And if you're going to get anything from today's lesson, is this. This you should know, this you should memorize, because this is the whole point of the book, the golden circle. So you have in the middle, you have the why. I'm sorry, like in the center you have the why, in the middle you have the how, and in the other you have the what. So why we do what we do, how we do it, and what we do. Okay. So every organization on the planet knows what they do. These are products they sell or the services. In our case, we do car accident cases. That's what we do. How? Some organizations know how they do it. These are the things that make them special or set them apart from their competitors. So when we talk about giving amazing customer service, striving for excellence, we have amazing systems and processes. We fight for the last dollar. That's the how. And then the why, very few organizations know why they do what they do. Why is not about making money as a result. Why is a purpose, cause, or belief. Is the very reason your organization exists. So again, very few people know why we do what we do. We're going to talk about it at the end, but hopefully most of you know. Because if you don't know why we do what we do, like why Honey and Greg, who founded the organization, decided to found the organization, if you don't understand the why, it's going to be very hard for you to, one, align yourself with that, and two, you're not going to be able to articulate it to your team, which is extremely important. Because in order to create alignment, we should all, be on the same page with the purpose of the organization and the values of the organization. A strong why offers reasons for people to buy and gives you flexibility to offer a wide range of what as a manifestation of your cause. So let's look at an example. Let's look at Apple, for example. Apple's competitors have access to the same talent, same consultants, same media as Apple, right? So what makes Apple more successful? They're definitely overpriced. So why most people, I'm sure not IT people, but most people, normal people, if you need a computer, a laptop, you most likely to get a Mac rather than a PC. A PC is cheaper and more efficient. So why do you get an Apple? Why do you get an iPad instead of a tablet? You can get a tablet, Android tablet, a lot cheaper, does the same thing. But why we go for the iPad that costs 3 times more? Why do we get an iPhone rather than an Android phone? Like, like why don't you get a Samsung? Some people do, but who wants to do that, right? Most people want an iPhone. Let's be honest, nobody likes those green bubbles, right? Everybody wants the blue bubbles. So why? Have you asked yourself why we're willing to pay more money? The same thing. Why? Same thing with the Wright brothers. So these were two brothers that were trying to invent flying, right? They wanted to, create an airplane and fly. At the same time that they were doing this, there was another guy, independently working, and there was this team that had a lot more funding. They had the resources. They had brilliant people working on this project. They had all this publicity. They had all the resources needed, and yet they didn't succeed. These people succeeded, the Wright brothers. And again, they didn't have the qualifications, they didn't have the funding. But why? Why were they able to achieve control power men flying first? And this is why, because there is a pattern. They think, act, and communicate in the exact same way. And it's exactly opposite to everyone else. So these special companies, these special people that, have these special results, they communicate differently from the rest of the other companies or organizations. And that pattern is called the golden circle, which is what we just covered. And again, is why we do what we do, how we do it, and what we do it. So the trick here is how you communicate to your customers that information. Truly special organizations like Apple will communicate from the inside out. They will start with why first. Regular organizations will start from the outside in. So they will start with what? So think about Dell and HP, for example, right? Like, again, if I'm going to buy a computer, I would never in a million years think of buying a Dell or an HP, you know, because if you look at what they stand for, what they tell you is what they make. We're a computer company. We make computers. We make great computers. We make very efficient computer. And what happens is that because they don't have a strong why, people are not buying what they stand for. They have to compete on things like pricing. Apple doesn't have that problem. Apple can put a price to the stratosphere and people will still buy it. They don't have to cut the prices. Have you ever seen an Apple item on sale? Because I've never seen it. It happens, but I mean, I guess I've never seen it. Now I see Dells and HPs on sale all the time because again, they start from the outside in with what they do, and so to attract customers, they have to compete on prices, promotions, and things like that. So this is how an ordinary organization would communicate, again, from the outward, from the outside in, starting with what. And in an ordinary organization, very few people know why they do what they do. Some know how they do it, and everyone knows what they do. Now, it's very easy to know what you do at work, right? So this is an ordinary organization. Now, truly special organizations like Apple, which is what we were talking about, they start with why. They think, act, and communicate from the inside out. They start with why, and then they go how and what. So, for example, I don't know if you know the Apple slogan. I don't know if you are very familiar with their marketing, but if Apple was a regular, ordinary organization that starts with what, this is what they would sound like. They would probably say something like, we make great computers. They are beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. Want to buy one? That's what they would say, right? They were just regular organization. Now, let's see how they actually sell the products to us, what they actually say. Everything we do, we believe in challenging the status quo. We believe in doing things differently. The way we challenge the status quo is by making our products beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. We just happen to make great computers. Want to buy one? See what they did there? Exactly the same information. They just reversed the order. They started with why. And again, when you buy an Apple product, you're buying it because you want to be cool. You want to feel like you're part of the innovation curve, like you're special, And that's what Apple sells to you because they challenge the status quo. They want to do things differently. And when we want to be cool, we don't want to be like everybody else, right? Because that will not make you cool. If you want to be different, you want to be, again, you want to be cool. And that's why you buy an Apple product. It gives you a certain status. It gives you a certain, flair of coolness. That's why, because you buying their why. You buying why they do, or you're not buying what they do. If you were buying what they did, if you were just buying a computer, trust me, you will go to Dell or HP and buy a more cheaper a cheaper computer, right? But you're not buying a computer, you're buying something else. So again, people don't buy what you do, people buy why you do it. What you do is just proof of what you believe. Normal companies communicate to their customers from the outside in, and they have some call to action. This is what we do, and this is how we do it. So again, this is what a normal, or what I call an ordinary company would do. Now, inspiring companies start with why. There is no trickery or manipulation. There's just reverse the order of the information. That's it. Other companies can copy what you do or how you do it, but they will never be the same if they don't start with why. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. Again, we do car accidents here, right? This is not why we do it. There is a purpose. There is a strong reason why Honey and Greg do what they do, and they have said it a million times in many huddles. They repeat it over and over again. And I know that sometimes they sound like a broken record. It's the same story over and over again. But the reason they do that is because they want to make sure that every single person in the organization understands why they're doing this. Maybe they're not telling you that's why they're telling you the story for the 100th time, but that's the reason why. And there is a very strong sense of why we do what we do. I don't know if you remember, but a few years ago, there was this personal injury attorney. She looked exactly like Honey. She was Cuban like her. She was blonde. She was using her same hairdresser, her same makeup artist. Her commercials were, a ripoff of our commercials. She was advertising in the same places we were advertising. Basically, she was copying everything Honey was doing. And for a moment, we got worried, right? Because there were people calling her by mistake, thinking that she was Honey. But here's the thing: when you look at her commercials, and you look at, if you go into her website or whatever, you realize that she doesn't really communicate why she's doing what she's doing. There is no clear purpose on her mission. And so she's just a car accident lawyer, like the other million car accident lawyers that we have in Miami. So, you know, what's happening is that she is slowly going out of business. I mean, it's not funny, but it's an example of how, you can copy what other people will do, but you will always be limited if you don't have a strong sense of why. So how could she be more successful than Honey? If her why was stronger than Honey's why, then maybe we would have a lot of more competition there. But because she's not very clear with her purpose, she's just like, the way she advertises is basically saying, oh, I'm gonna get you great results. Again, the same way everybody else does it. Then, it's not resonating with people. And that's why people are not really going to that other attorney. Because people buy why you do it, they don't buy what you do. Now, the power of why is not opinion, it's biology. Everything that we've talked about, it is not a suggestion or an opinion of how it should be or how it might be. This is biology. This is how brain works. So the neocortex corresponds to the what. This is where relational, thought, and analytical thinking come from. The limbic brain corresponds to the how and why. This is where feelings and emotions come from, and it's also where decisions are made. This is part of the brain. This part of the brain has no control over language. That's why it can be hard to describe our feelings. Sometimes you feel a certain way and it's hard for you to articulate it. Well, this is why, because the region of the brain where you process feelings is not the same as where you process or your analytical thinking. And to relate the golden circle to the human brain, this is a little diagram. So basically, the why and the how correspond to the limbic brain, so feelings. And then the what, which are the results, right? The analytical part corresponds to the neocortex. So to go into more detail, the why is the purpose, cause, or belief that drives you, why you get up in the morning. The how is the unique talents that make you special. And the what is the actions you take toward achieving your why. If you go to the other side, which shows like the brain, then you have the limbic brain, which is responsible of all feelings, behavior, and decision making. And the neocortex, like we said before, is responsible for rational and analytical thought and language. So why don't we start with why? What's wrong with starting with what first? Well, people can understand vast amount of information. It gets processed in the neocortex, but it doesn't drive decision making. Decision making, it's in the limbic region. Have you ever been in a situation like you're trying to buy a car, house, a product, right? And they give you all the facts. Everything makes perfect sense. All the facts are backed up. It's very logical, very straight up. And somehow it just doesn't feel right to you. He's like, I don't know. I understand everything you're telling me. Yeah, everything makes sense. However, I just don't feel good about it. I just don't feel like I don't think I should buy it. Like I have a gut feeling. A lot of us will listen to our gut. Actually, people tell you to always listen to your gut. Most people make decisions based on their gut feeling, right? Everything might look good, but if your gut is telling you that it doesn't feel right, most of the time you will walk away from that deal, that purchase, or whatever. And that's because your decision making is in the limbic region and it's tied to your emotions. And we cannot really articulate why. It just feels wrong. This is why. Remember when we went over the feedback model, how we said that people are psychological, work is logical, people is psychological. Well, same thing. It's the same concept. We are psychological beings and we make decisions based on feeling. It's nice where our feelings and the facts, merge and we can, agree. But again, if the facts are there, but your gut is telling you no, most likely you're going to walk away. And because the why is tied to the limbic region, that's how you get your customers. That's how you get people to follow you because people will make decisions based on why you do what you do. It's like it's not very logical yet. It's just the way the brain works. If you do not know why you do what you do, how can you convince people to be part of what you do, to be loyal? Again, it's extremely important that the founders of the organization have a strong why or a strong purpose. It is important that the leaders of the organization understand that purpose and can articulate it to the team. Because how can you ever create alignment with the team if we don't even know why we do what we do, right? It gets very fuzzy. So it's very important that everybody's on the same page as to what that purpose is. So let's say if you're an attorney and you got into the business because you want to make money and attorneys make money, if that's your idea, then that's not a strong why, unfortunately, and you're not going to be able to gain a good base of loyal customers. So you're going to have to compete in terms of money. You're going to have to discount your fees and do things like that. And we see other attorneys that do that. When we say here, our fees are non-negotiable. We have people that call us and say, oh, because these attorneys offer me 25%. And we're like, no, we're not good. We have our fees and those are non-negotiable. We do not negotiate our fees. It's just because we are selling not a service, we are selling a vision, a purpose, and it works the same with any product you buy. So again, understanding that purpose or that why is ideal for the organization to continue, for the organization to be strong, and for everybody to be aligned. So very three important things that we need is clarity, discipline, and consistency. So clarity of why. If a leader cannot clearly explain why the organization does what it does, how can anyone be inspired by this? The why must be clearly articulated. The discipline of how. Finding your why is the easy part. Holding yourself true to this and sticking to how you achieve your why is the hard part. It requires discipline. And consistency of what? Why is just a belief. The how is how you achieve the belief. And what you say and do is the proof of your belief. If you're consistent with what you say and do, you will become more authentic. This builds trust and loyalty. If you have no way, no why, it's almost impossible to build this authenticity as you have no belief to prove. Again, the people that go in it for the money, they just don't feel authentic. People are not going to gravitate towards you. They're not going to trust you. They might do business with you because you give them a nice discount, but they're not really going to trust you. Leaders need a following. As members of the human race, we are attracted to those who have the same values and beliefs as us. When we believe the same thing, trust emerges. When we recruit employees, we should recruit people who believe what we believe so that we can trust one another instead of hiring purely based on skill and experience. In order for leaders to build a following, they must be trusted. And I think this is something that we do at the Word Law Group already, that we hire people based on culture fit, not so much skills. There are certain positions that require a obviously specific set of skills, but for the most part, we're willing to train people. We're willing to hire people with no experience and train them as long as they're a cultural fit. Because the most important thing is for people to be a culture fit. And what that means is that they align with our values and with our purpose. And that's why it's so important when you're doing your recruiting and when you are doing your hiring interviews that you're asking questions around the core values to make sure that those people believe what you believe in. Because that's the only way that you're going to establish trust with your employees. So the emergence of trust. Trust is not a checklist. Fulfilling all your responsibilities does not create trust. Trust is a feeling, not a rational experience. We trust some people and companies even when things go wrong, and we don't trust others even though everything might go exactly as it should be. You have to earn trust by communicating and demonstrating what you share, the same values and beliefs. You have to talk about your why and prove it with what you do. Again, a why is just a belief. Hows are the actions we take to realize that belief, and the whats are the results of those actions. When all three are in balance, trust is built and value is perceived. So, again, going back to the hiring, and the reason I'm touching on this is because as leaders, at some point, you're going to have to hire for your team. That's part of leadership. It's important that you understand how important and vital the hiring process is to your culture and to your teams. So when hiring people who believe what you believe, success just happens. You don't hire for skills, you hire for attitudes that align with your culture. You can always teach skills. The goal is to hire those who are passionate about your why, your purpose, cause, or belief, and who have the attitude that fits your culture. Again, going back to everything we've learned in the past about engagement and motivation, it's the same concept. He just puts it in a different way in the book, but everything ties back to the same thing we've been talking about. Great companies don't hire skilled people and motivate them. They hire already motivated people and inspire them. People are either motivated or they are not. Unless you give motivated people something to believe in, something bigger than their job to work towards, they will motivate themselves to find a new job and you'll be stuck with whoever is left. Figure out why your good employees are a good fit, then develop a system to find more of them. And again, this goes back to what we already talked in the other lessons about motivation. People are already motivated. They're just not motivated always about the same things you motivated about. So the whole point is whenever you give a task to somebody, tie it back to whatever they care about. because the motivation is already there, right? It's just that they might not care about the same things that you care about. So always, what do they care about, right? And then tie every single task, every performance outcome that you want, you tie it back to what they believe in and to what they care about. How that's how you keep people engaged. But again, like like he says in the book, you know, people are already motivated. There's no way of motivating them. Now, this is another example. Another company, Ferrari, right? So talking about a strong sense of why and a strong purpose. When you go into the Ferrari website, right, and you click on About Us, that's the first thing you're gonna see. And they talk about the Ferrari DNA, and it says, "Born of the spirit of racing, Ferrari epitomizes the power of lifelong passion and the beauty of limitless human achievement, creating timeless icons for the changing world." And again, like when you look at these companies that have been around forever and that are at the top of the game, um, they always going to have a strong sense of why. And whenever you go into the website, it should be very clear and it should be like the first thing you see. It should be out there for everybody to see. Again, when you click on the link where it says about us, they're not showing you the other cars. They're not talking about pricing. They're not talking about building cars. This is what you see. You see this statement, which is the why, and you see the values. And why do people buy a Ferrari, right? So if you, become a millionaire or whatever, if you have money, and if you just want an expensive car because you want to show off and, you want everybody to know that you got some money, you buy a Bugatti or a Lamborghini, right? Why do you want to buy a Ferrari? So people that buy a Ferrari, they're buying something very specific. They're buying an icon, an iconic car. They're buying timeless, a timeless icon. They're buying, again, like Apple, a status. You want to be cool. It's about limitless human achievement. I heard something in a movie once that they said that like if you're somebody, you buy a Ferrari. If you want to show the world that you're somebody, then you probably buy another kind of car. But if you are somebody, you buy a Ferrari because it's like um, it is who they are. It's about classic, timeless, iconic. And if you want to be that, if you want to be, if you're just about iconic and about class and about status, that is Ferrari. And again, it's they're born out of the spirit of racing. Ferrari actually makes car because they want to race. That's why this whole thing was born, because this guy Enzo Ferrari, he was into racing. And interestingly enough, they sell a lot of cars and they don't win a lot of races, but that's besides the point. But again, this is in their DNA, it's who they are, and it's very visual whenever you go into the website. Now, I went into our website because, you know, going back to what our why is. And I'll be honest, I had to make a couple of clicks to get to this. So, And when you go into the website, that's not what you see in the first page. When you go to About Us, it actually doesn't talk a lot about a why. It talks about what we do. You actually have to go into Honey's biography and click on her name to get to this. But this is our why. This is why we do what we do. Because when she crossed the border, and she said this story, she said it a million times, she felt helpless and lost. She didn't understand the language. And she describes the experience very painful because other people were making decisions about her and her family, and she felt like she didn't have any control. She felt like she couldn't understand, like, she felt helpless. And that's why she founded this company, because she doesn't want anybody else to feel what she felt. So she doesn't want anybody else to feel helpless, again, in the legal system, lost in the legal system. Most people, Hispanics, which is the demographic that we usually serve, they don't know the system, they don't know the laws. So most times they feel lost and they don't understand. And that's why she does what she does, because she doesn't want them to feel what she felt. Same thing with Greg. I mean, Greg talks about he was bullied in school as a kid. And that's why he does what he does, because he feels like the insurance companies are bullies. They take advantage of people. And so he doesn't want anybody to feel as powerless as he felt when he was bullied. So both their purpose and both the whys, align. They're very similar and they align. And that's why people hire us. They are not hiring us because we get great results or because, we know the law or whatever. There are a million attorneys out there that I'm sure are very qualified and can provide a decent service. They retain our service because of what we stand for, because we don't want anybody to feel helpless, lost, because we don't want anybody to be discriminated because they don't understand the language, because we want justice for them. This is why. And again, it's very important that each of us understands that why. If we, as leaders of this organization, don't understand the founders' why, we're not going to be able to articulate it properly to our team. Now, hopefully, like I said before, our why, our purpose aligns with their purpose. And that's, how you can create authenticity, because everything that has to do with performance and growth and all of these things actually goes back to the why. It's not just about making money. Making money is a result of a strong why. That is the what, right? And it's important if we want to continue as a company, but that's not the main reason we do what we do. So in order to inspire as a leader, to be inspiring to your team and to, build that trust and authenticity with your team, you need to be aligned with that. Your why should be aligned with the organization's why. And again, hopefully the people in your team are also aligned with that why. And that is the end, like I promised today. So it was not that bad, right? It was like not that dense. Questions about that? I know some of you already read the book, um, but some of you haven't. So any questions? Okay. Does anybody, I mean, does everybody in this call know their why, their purpose? I see a lot of faces like, all right, Allison, talk to me. I'm gonna pick on somebody.
What do you want me to talk to you about? My why?
So, do you know your why?
I mean, I feel like I do. I feel like it all goes back to, I guess, like my parents and my grandparents who also came from Cuba. And for instance, like my grandparents don't speak English. So I was always, when I was a kid, I was always the one that had to like read all the cards and I didn't understand what any of them were saying. And I always had to like educate myself so that I could be able to educate them so that they can make sure that they weren't getting taken advantage or doing the wrong thing or whatever the case was. So I feel like everything that I take pride in or take joy in is educating other people because I really, really like making sure that they know all the information, that they're doing things properly and that they're making educated choices. So I feel like everything that I've done in my life that I've liked to do, and even in this job is kind of just like I came into here not knowing anything about personal injury or anything like that. So I educated myself. I learned everything about the process so that I could be able to help the clients any way that I could. And every time we're on the calls, you can hear the clients that it's their first time in an accident and they have no idea what's going on and they're very lost and confused. And so it fills up my cup every time I'm able to like educate them and like explain to them and they're like, okay, now I understand how things work. So I feel like that's all kind of tied into all of that.
So, what can you do moving forward to make sure that you properly articulate the why of the company to your team?
I guess like every time, somebody not necessarily struggling, but anytime somebody's struggling with a brand new process or when we're going to implement a new process, explaining how it all ties to the new why. So, for instance, I'm going to give everyone the example because not everybody knows details about client support. But for instance, we are implementing a four seasons type of customer service that we want to implement at the front desk. And so when you try to explain it to the team, it's kind of just like, okay, we're going to be doing this, and you don't explain why we're going to do it. They just see it as something else you're making them do, and they're not going to do it with that caringness of like, I understand the purpose and what the bigger picture is. So I did it the opposite way. I started with why we're implementing a four-season service, why it ties into our mission as to why we want the client to feel special, cared for, because they may have never felt that way. And we want them that when they're coming here, when we call them by their name, we offer them drinks and a massage chair that they've never experienced that because sometimes our clients won't get the opportunity to go to a four seasons and experience that. So we want to be that first and hopefully not last experience that they have that way, right? And so when you explain it that way, and then I've had some experiences that client support has already told me where it's kind of just like when I called the client by their name, I really saw the difference in their face when I did that. They were like shocked or whatever. So then it all ties together. So now they're more motivated and more inspired to continue doing it. So I've already seen it happen. But you need to also do it with like little things too, so that they all know how everything connects. So that's kind of really I saw the importance of starting with why there.
That was a great example. I like that. Awesome.
I guess I don't know if anybody has this question, but what would you say or what advice would you do when you identify somebody who may not have the same why as the company?
So if the person doesn't have the same values, because again, purpose and values, they kind of like intertwine, offboard them. It is very simple. If you're not a cultural fit, I don't care how, I mean, we've seen it. People that are good performers, they produce they give you results, but they are not a good cultural fit. At the end of the day, they're not going to be motivated or engaged because they just don't believe in the same things that you believe in. They're not going to care about the same things you care about. So they're going to be negative. They're going to be talking, and poisoning everybody. And it's just going to bring the morale of the team down. It never ends well. Caught it in time, get rid of them. I'm sorry, but this is the way it is. No culture fit, this is not the place for you. Bye. You are freeing them to find their ideal culture. So
Hold on,
let's look at it that way.
a client in conference room one is calling me. Hold on.
Okay. Okay. Any other question? Okay. So if we don't have any more questions, we can end the session early. So thank you guys. And the homework is to, if you don't know your why yet or your purpose, try to find your purpose. See if it aligns with the culture, with the purpose of the company. And the second part of the homework is to make sure that you articulate the why of the company to the team this week. You don't have a lot of time left. You only have 3 days, but in the 3 days that you have left, try to tie the why of the company, the why of the organization to something they do. Like what Allison, the example that she gave us, that's a perfect example. So anything regarding productivity, performance, anything like that, whenever you're going to give feedback to somebody, tie it back to the why of the organization. Okay. And if you don't have a team under you, or if you don't oversee anybody, then try, if you're giving feedback to a team member, or try to tie it back to the why. All right. Thank you guys. Have a wonderful day. Bye.